Good morning, everyone. Hope your day is going well. Today we're doing PowerPoint 2007 Level 1, an introduction class, very similar to the Excel class we had last week. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today...
Good morning.
Good morning. This is an intro class, so very basics. We're going to go navigation and things of that nature. Up on my screen, you should see like a PowerPoint slide, just a PowerPoint 2000 Level 1 there. We are going to go through these topics. What is PowerPoint? What you use it for. Navigation, your menu, screen. We're going to create a very basic presentation. Check into the layouts of the slides, how you can change those around. I'm going to show you how to add text and other types of content in slides. Then we're going to go over formatting, viewing the presentation, printing options, saving, and the help system. And this is pretty much most of the topics we'll be going through today. There's also a Level 2 and Level 3 that we'll be doing later on. But these are the ones that today, very basic presentations to get familiar with it. So you could just go ahead and mute all your phones. And I'm going to go ahead and close this slide here. And we'll get started. Now, your PowerPoint program should be under your Start, All Programs, and then Microsoft Office. And then in there you should be able to see Microsoft PowerPoint 2007. Or you might have a shortcut on your desktop already. But this is one way where you can get to it. And you go ahead and open it up on your computers as well if you want. Or just phone. Now, as soon as you open PowerPoint, kind of like Excel, it opens up a document for you or something for you. This one just opens up a generic presentation with one slide, and this is like a title slide to add a title and your subtitle to help you get started. Now, once you have it open, it looks like Excel and the other Microsoft programs. We have your little button, Office button here. We have multiple tabs across the screen for different options in PowerPoint. Just like we had last week in Excel, we have this little toolbar here, Quick Launch, the Quick Access toolbar. You could click a little triangle and customize it. And typically what I have here, like I do the print preview, and you might also have an email link here to send it quickly via your email program. So those are some quick options you have. So I have email, I have print preview, and the save button. That's usually there by default. On the middle section at the top, you have, the name of the program, Microsoft PowerPoint, and the current file name, which is just Presentation 1. On the far, all the way to the far right, you have the minimize, the maximize, and the X to close the program. Then just underneath that, we have the Microsoft Office help in case you have questions or need to search for some help. Then you have your menu bar, which gives you Home, Insert, Design, Animation, Slideshow, Review, and View. And on each tab, it has the most common options already available for you, with little links to pull up the entire options, all of the menu options, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. On the whole middle section there is your main screen area, your main slide. On the far left here, we see two little tabs. Slides, which kind of gives you a list of all your slides. Right now it just shows one. And it numbers them for you too, so you know which order they're in. There's also a tab called Outline. So once you have a bunch of slides or a presentation created, it kind of gives you an outline of those slides too, with your titles in here of text, and we'll take a look at that later on. You have a very bottom right, we have the standard zoom in, zoom out to adjust the size of your view here for the slide you're working on. Might need a little bit bigger in case you're working with a small item, or you might want to zoom it back out to get a better view. I'm going to leave it right about there, 100%. You also have these little buttons just to the left of the zoom, slideshow, slide sorter, and normal. This is the normal view right now where we kind of have these couple different windows. Then it shows you we're using an office theme right now, which is like a generic theme. And we're currently on slide 1 of 1. So that means we're on very first slide, and there's only one slide. But if you had like 10 slides, it'll say slide 1 of 10. Or if you're on slide 3, it'll say slide 3 of 10, and so on for there. This notes section here, kind of at the bottom middle there, right below that first slide, you can add your own notes. Like if you're giving a presentation, you can put notes in here for yourself that you can remind yourself to talk about something, and you can print these notes as well. It's like clip notes or something. You print them out, and as you're giving the presentation, give yourself reminders to talk about certain topics that you don't actually have listed on the slide. So that's the layout of Microsoft PowerPoint. Very similar to Excel and Word, with the tabs and the menus up here. Just has different items because you're in a different program. Each one is tailored to the application that you're in. But on that standard home button here, that home tab, we have the same kind of stuff that we can use here. Cut, copy, and paste. And then you have an item here, slides, and this is tailored to PowerPoint. Then you have your font and your paragraph, just like we had in Microsoft Excel and the other ones. And then we have some more things that are tailored to PowerPoint, such as drawing. And then the other one, which is very common, find and replace, the editing option here. To go to the Insert tab, this lets you insert different things in your slide. Now, such as a table, in case you're listing out items or subject matter, you can insert pictures, clip arts, photos, shapes, charts. It also gives you option to add more text boxes, edit the header and footer. You can insert special word art, which is like decorative text, date and time, slide numbers. You also insert movie clips and sounds to play during your presentation, and it could link to a video or things like that. It just depends on what you're doing in your presentation. It could be simple to very complex with animations or no animation. It's really up to you or the presenter how they want that presentation set up. The Design tab is very useful to automatically lay out a style or a theme to your presentation to give it more bang, more colors. Right now, this is just the office theme, very basic, nothing really. It's pretty much what you see here, the font sizes and colors and all that stuff, no background colors. If I go to the next one over, without clicking on it, it shows you what it would look like. So it can make it quickly and easily, you can make your presentation a lot better once you get your slides and your text and your information inside your presentation file. But there's quite a few of these different styles that you can choose from. These are just some samples. There's also more online you can find and download as well. Some are free and some are not. It's very similar to the little slides, the styles in Excel that we had last week, where you can pick a different style, but this is themes, they call them PowerPoint. There is also another drop down here to pick additional ones that can't fit on the list. You can also go online and get more from Microsoft Office, and those are usually free. Or you can actually, when you get more advanced, you can design your own style with your own backgrounds and fonts and colors and things like that, and save those and you use them over and over. Some companies do that do a lot of presentations, like sales companies or retail, and they create their own design and reuse that design and update it when they need to, so they can quickly apply it to their presentation. Or you can, of course, just manually change your fonts and things like that yourself. But this is a quick way to add some color and make your presentation stand out. The next tab is animations. If you've ever seen a presentation before, you can have animations where photos roll in or flip in, different kind of elements. And if you hold your mouse on top of these, it kind of shows you what it would look like if you choose to do these things. And once again, this one also has a more button, so additional options that you can go through if you want to add special type of animation to your slide. So like if I go to slide number 2, I might have a special animation, so when I navigate to slide 2, that transition happens. So they call those slide transitions or animations. You can also add sound effects and how quickly the slide happens, the transition happens, fast, slow, medium. And so it takes a little longer. But those are just some of your options. Slideshow here. It helps you, if you don't know the keyboard shortcuts, to start your presentation. Or it helps to start your presentation from the beginning or from your current slide if you're testing it and practicing it. Or you can do a custom show where it only goes through certain slides in your presentation, but that would have to be set up here. So you can pick, maybe for a certain group of people, you only have, say, 30 minutes to present, but your normal presentation is set up for an hour. You can say, set up a slideshow, a custom one, and you can say, okay, I'm going to use slide 2, slide 7, 10, 14, and mix them up, and to cut your time in half, so you get your key points across, but you'll have to skip some other slides. But that's an option too if you ever had to do that. Or you make a totally different presentation for a shorter amount of time. The review tab, once again, it's very similar to the other ones. You have your spell check and stuff in here. This will also let you add comments in case you're sharing or editing this document with someone else. You can also protect the presentation. So if you share it, you can protect it so other people don't change certain things or can't change anything. That's optional as well. The View tab lets you change the view that you're looking. This is currently set to normal view. And if I hold your mouse, just like the other Office programs, on top of these, you can see the little screen tips that pops up and tells you a little bit about each option. So here's the slide sorter view. It helps you put them on smaller thumbnails so you can arrange your slides easier. This one shows your notes pages if you did add any notes down here. That's a good way to see all your notes. And this will start the slideshow. And when you get more advanced, you have a slide master that helps you design the layout of your slides. You have a handout master that you can design, so you can actually print handouts to people who come to your presentation in case they need to take notes or you want to give them a hard copy. And then you have a notes master. You can turn on the ruler that shows up on the side here. You can turn that on and off. I typically leave that off because I really don't need the ruler inside PowerPoint. Some people might. Grid lines. In case you're lining up a lot of different pictures or objects on the screen, you might need grid lines on or the ruler on, but those are easily turned on and off right here. Then it has options to zoom, fit to the window, so you can see the whole slide that you're on. So on this case, it really depends on your screen resolution, but mine dropped down to 63%, so I see the entire slide on the screen here. So if I manually change the zoom back, you know, I don't see all of the edges because it cuts part of it off. So there's that option to quickly say fit to the window size there. Color, grayscale. If you don't want any color, you can switch it to color, grayscale, different options like that. Typically, we just leave it at color, but those are options as well. And then new window. Open a new one containing the view of the current document. You can arrange your windows. If you have multiple presentations open at the same time, you can switch to presentation 1 or presentation 2 or presentation 3 if you have multiple PowerPoint documents open at once. In case you can use that to copy something from one presentation and paste it into another presentation, or to compare like a different version that you did last year while you're making a new one for the new year. But this button is for that if you have multiple presentations open at the same time. I'm going to go back to the home button here. Now, for the first time, you know, never ever doing a PowerPoint presentation, always check this Office button up here. This is where you get to open, save, print, and everything else you can do with the document, and it tells you that right there on the screen. So the important one is, especially very first time, you want to go to New, because just like with the other Office products, it gives you a bunch of options to do already basically pre-designed for you that you would just need to edit the text and make it your own. So it has like, here's some certificates it has that you could edit for students, student awards, or anything really. I'll go ahead and select one of these by double-clicking. It takes a few seconds to download, and here I go. I got a slide for like a most valuable player for your students. I'm going to go back there and New again. So there's quite a few you can use. Background, design. Here's one for business. All different kinds that you can select. So when you have time, please go through these. It can save you a bunch of time if you do need to make a presentation to get the feel of how the layouts work, how they do things, or if you're not good at figuring out, you know, making it look very pretty, you can use one of these that are already designed for you, and then just add additional slides and add your own information in there. So there's a bunch of categories that are available to you that feel free to check them out when you have time. And they even have technology category. Oh, here's one for Outlook 2003. Here's one for Word. So, Pixel, Outlook. Here's one for PowerPoint. So, training presentation for PowerPoint. So, let's take a look at it. This kind of tells you how to add sound effects in your presentation. If I double-click on it, so this gives me some course outlines, course goals. So, this is something you can probably practice on your own. It tells you how to do certain things, and this one is about adding sound to your presentation. But this one, look at it. It's got a whole bunch of slides here on the side. So once you add your slides, this is where they'll show up, and they're in the order that it'll follow in the presentation when you start it. And down here it says almost like 10 of 59. And then this theme is this here, PPTT Sound, is that theme they designed. Go back to the top. So now back and said it's on slide 1 of 59. Now remember those different views for over slide sorter and notes, and that the buttons were down here as well. Normal, slide sorter. If I click slide sorter, it shows you that different layout now that we actually have a whole bunch of slides in our document here. So this lists them all out, thumbnail view basically, where you can rearrange your slides if you needed to. So if I wanted lesson 1, slide number 5 somewhere else, I can click and hold on it, and once you do, if you start moving your mouse, you get this little tiny box, rectangle box right underneath the mouse to let you know that you got it successfully, you grabbed it. And then I can move it between a slide, and it shows a bar there saying if I let go of my mouse, that's where it would go. So I'm going to do that, and it should become slide number 3 now. So click and drag. So this is one way to rearrange your slides if you put them in the wrong order, or if you added a slide in the wrong place. You can use the slide sorter to do that. And I'm going to move it back. So I'm going to use the button up here, toolbar, to undo that, and it'll put it back in the original place for me for this presentation. So that's moved back. I'm going to go back. So I'm going to click the notes pages. Right now, this one doesn't have any notes, but this is what it would look like on your notes pages. Hey, this one has some notes. And you could print this way. So if you do give a presentation, like I said earlier, you can use this as notes to remind you what to talk about. I'm going to go back to the normal view and back to slide number 1. But check that out. So always remember that Office button and New and all the categories and stuff you can see. And if you have internet, you can go search online as well. You can also get more from their Microsoft website. And once you install them, they'll show up in this list here as well. I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to here and say close. This will close the presentation. And I'm going to go up here again and say close this certificate and back to this. This is back to normal, what it looks like when you first open PowerPoint. So now we're going to get started here and create a very basic slide. So by default, it creates this little title slide. It says click to add a title and then a subtitle. So whatever your presentation is about, this is where you would start. So you would have a title. So mine was PowerPoint 2007, Level 1. So I just type that in. The first thing you have to do is click in the boxes, and then you'll see that cursor blinking, and then you can start typing. And that's what I did here. And when you do click in one of these text boxes, it shows you the little dotted outlines, because you can actually move this box around. If I get my mouse on the dotted edges, I can click and drag and move it up higher if I would like. So this one has some space in between. So maybe down here I'll put today's date, and then click out of it. You could use it for anything you want. You can put, that's just a subtitle. And I'll take that back out. So it's kind of like Excel and Word. Creating text, adding text is the same. You got to just kind of click where you want it to go. And in PowerPoint, you have to be inside one of these text boxes. But once you're there and you see that cursor blinking, you could use your keyboard keys, the up, down, left, and right. Mainly in this little one sentence here, it's left and right to go back and forth. Or you can simply click. In case I made a mistake, I could then hit delete on the keyboard, fix it, put it back, or maybe this is 2013 instead. I could do that. You can edit on the keyboard once you're in there. You can also, you see all these little circles and boxes around the edges. These help you resize the text boxes. that you have in your slides. So if I go to the corner here at the top right, you notice the mouse is now 2 arrows. That gives you an idea of how you can drag it, which direction you can drag it in. With the left click, you can hold that button down. Your mouse changes so that you know you did grab it, and then I can move it up and down, kind of diagonally there, and resize the box if I want to. I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, and when you do, it auto fits the text in that box as best as it can. So that doesn't look good, so I'll make it a little bit bigger, spreads it out. So I'm going to put it back with the undo, and remember the undo shortcut is Control-Z. So I put it back to the original size. And the square ones for up and down, or left and right, depending on where the little square box is. And this one also has in PowerPoint a green one at the very top middle. I hold my mouse on top of that one. You notice it's kind of a circle arrow for rotation. So if I click and hold on that, I can drag my mouse to the left and to the right, and I can rotate, give it more dramatic effect for my text there. And then I could, resize it and put it down here or something like that. But you can rotate your text as well, all the way around or even upside down if you really wanted to. Now, if you mess up and you can't try to get it just right back, you can always use that undo button several times if needed to get it back to the way it was. That's always useful. And I always use the keyboard shortcut, but remember, it's just right up here on the quick access toolbar there for undo. Now, you can leave this here. If I don't have a subtitle, I don't have to put text on it. You can delete this box. This is just, it creates 2 by default. If you have a box selected to do that, you don't want to use it, you can leave it there like I said, and it won't show up during your presentation. So if I start my presentation with the F5 button, it doesn't show the box outline or anything. So you can leave it there if you want, like I said, or you can actually delete it too. To do that, you get your mouse and on the edge and click it so it's highlighted and you see the boxes like earlier. And then you can press delete on the keyboard and that little text box goes away. But like I said, you can leave it there in case you do, in case you want to add something later on as you're creating your presentation. Now, you might need more slides. You might need 10 slides. You might need 20 slides. Like that other one had 59 slides in it. It really depends on what you're doing. The one I had opened earlier, it only had 2 slides, and it had PowerPoint and the kind of the topics that we went over. I did save that somewhere, or I can get it under my recent documents. That's under Start and Recent Documents. All the other Office products have this too. So if you have a recent documents you've opened previously, but maybe they're not on your desktop, they're somewhere else, if you open them recently, they will show up here, and then you can have quick access to open them again. So you don't have to search your computer for them. As long as they're in the same location, you didn't move them, you can use that recent document option here. Quick access. And it puts quite a few in that list as you start opening them and closing them. So here's my other one. This one has 2 slides, and this is what I had up on the screen earlier when we first started. Basically 1 slide, 2 slides. I'm going to go ahead and close it out with the X in the corner, and that closes that presentation. Since this had 2 presentations open, it took me back to the other one that is left. Now, so I need to add another slide. And that's easily accessed up here on your Home tab with this button, New Slide. And it says add a slide to the presentation, and you notice there's a little option down here with the triangle. It lets you pick what kind of slide. So the title slide is the one we have already. This one is titled with a different kind of content. selection header, to comparison, title only, a blank slide, so you can totally customize it and add it the way you want. These will give you options and let you, and it'll put boxes on there automatically for you. So you don't want to add them yourself. You can use them or delete them. So this is how you can do the new slide. Now, if I just click that button, it throws in the very next type of slide that it thinks you might need. Title of this slide, and then click here to add text. And this is one of the most common ones that most people use. And that one is just this one right here, the very second one. But that's usually the default when you hit new slide. Now, another way to add a new slide is with the magical right click. It also gives you options to cut a slide, you know, if you want to paste it somewhere else, kind of like drag and drop, moving it, copy. Create a new slide is here. You can also duplicate a slide or delete a slide by that right click. So maybe I don't really want this second slide. Make sure it's selected and say, do a right click and say delete the slide. And it's gone. Then I'll just simply hit new slide again and bring it back. Or if you have the general layout that you want, you can right click and say duplicate slide. It adds another one in there, the same exact text, but then you can simply go in there and change the text and edit it. So now I have PowerPoint, and on the second slide I have welcome. So that's with the duplicate slide. It'll duplicate exactly what's on the slide, the layout, and everything. So on the third slide here, click and add title. Typically when you give a presentation, you tell the audience kind of the topics that you're going to go over. Briefly, you know, summarize. And so this could be, you know, topics. And then down here, I can click and add text. It's very helpful to tell you what to do. So I want to give an intro. Maybe we have a meet and greet later. This could be a timetable. You know, if it's like a meeting, you can have an agenda and for this presentation. And we're going to go over layouts, menus, you know, give you topics of your presentation that you're going to talk about. So that's one thing you can do here. And then typically once you have like your main topics listed out, then you go to another new slide. And this could be the main topic of intro. So introduction to PowerPoint. So what is PowerPoint? How can I use PowerPoint? And so on and so on. So this will be more detailed part of that intro topic that you had before. So PowerPoint is a presentation software. And how can you use it? Well, people use it in many different ways. People use it to give training classes or instructions with photos. You can add charts and graphs and sales information. It can be used a lot of different ways. Some people, personally, just use it to create a picture slideshow that you can send out to family or friends. You put a picture on every page or several pictures in a collage on each slide and email out, or it could be, you know, like you do a certificate like we saw earlier that you can choose. But PowerPoint uses in many different ways. They use PowerPoint in all our board meetings and office meetings here to give graphical representations of information, data. You can embed spreadsheet information in these. It's very useful when you're doing meetings and things of that nature. So here's my intro with a couple information about PowerPoint, introduction to the class. If I go back to slide 3, what was my other one? I had layout. So I want to insert another new slide. Oops. Looks like it created the slide right below where I was at. So just be aware, that's what happened. So I have a new slide here, but I wanted it under the intro, past it. So you have to be on that last slide and do new slide, and then it'll work. So I'm just going to delete this one with the right click. So now I have the new blank one just below intro. And then I would, once again, here's kind of my layout one. This is my other topic. And so we went over the layout of the PowerPoint, the screen layout, the menus, the tabs, navigation. So this is kind of a basic of how a presentation is set up and looks like. Now, right now, of course, it's not very pretty. It's just black and white. But remember that design tab? I can go here and, well, make it look a lot better. Now, if I do one of the changes, I can say I'll just pick this one. If I click it, there it goes. It changed every single one of my slides to this new theme. It changes the fonts, the font colors, the background photo, everything pretty much. And down here it says this one is called Apex. So if I don't really like it, I can try a different one. Maybe it's something more simple, like this one, and try that one out too. Now you can navigate your slides by clicking with the mouse or use the up and down arrows on the keyboard to go to the next and previous slide. So those are a quick way to make it look a lot better than just that plain black and white, just like this one. This is the generic office theme that comes with PowerPoint. Now you can also do it all manually if you want to, by hand. So I went back to the home page, and I have the font and paragraph settings here. I can select my text and change the font to something else, and the font size, or I like these buttons here, decrease or increase your font size like I showed you in the Excel. Quickly adjust the size of your text, bold, italic, just like in all the other Office programs. This one's very useful, and typically I use this a lot in PowerPoint to center it on the screen or in your box. And by default, it's pretty much like that anyways, but just in case you change it, it's right there. But you can change your fonts, manually that way too. Now, you don't always have to highlight all the text. It really depends on what you're doing. If I just click in this box, I can do the increase and decrease font. But your mouse has to be in a certain spot. So if I click on the outside of it, it's not changing those fonts that are already there. But if I click inside the word, I can then use the increase and decrease right there. Or change the entire font. So just be aware your cursor has to be in a certain spot for certain things to work. And if it doesn't work, just by clicking somewhere else. But me, I don't like to spend a lot of time on the formatting in PowerPoint. How I do it when I used to do a lot of presentations is I would put all my information in first, kind of like I did here. And then I would just simply try to pick a design that looks good for me. There are a lot more online too that look even better. But that's some quick ways to make it look pretty quickly without spending a lot of time on it. Just get your information in there and you can go. Other options here is you can change the font colors. So you can change things individually for the whole layout of your slide, or just use the theme to save time, so you can have more time to focus on your PowerPoint content rather than the way it looks. Now that we have several slides, we can take a look. Maybe we want to add some animation. And those are called transitions, slide transitions, or we can do custom animation, which is a different class. But something simple I can do, I'll select this one. Maybe down on slide 3, I'll pick one of these. Slide 4, I can click maybe a different one as well. Now I want to check it out. I want to see what it looks like to the audience. You know, you got to practice your presentation, make sure everything looks correctly. And one important thing in PowerPoint when you do give a presentation is making sure everything is large enough so for people in the back row can see it as well. So your text sizes and your styles and all that kind of depends on how big of a room you're going to be in, the screen size that's available to you. So just be aware of the person in the back row who's trying to squint to see your small text. So if you have to, break up your topics like over here to multiple slides. It really depends on how much content you have in the presentation. But if some of these are getting too small, you might want to, put them on a different slide and continue on that. Just be aware of that. People in the back row still need to be able to read this clearly too. So I'm going to start the presentation. Quick and easy way to do that is by pressing the F5 key on your keyboard, and that always starts the presentation on slide number 1, like you're ready to go. So here's the first slide, and you can click with the mouse to go to the next slide. I typically just use my arrow keys, especially when I'm testing it and practicing it, because then I could go back and forth in the presentation. And you can see it's rather quickly, but you can see some of the transition effects here where it kind of lays it out, and this one kind of fades in. So those are the screen transitions, if you want to add those in a presentation that you do. Like I said, you can add sound and stuff to those. Some people add sound effects to their slides and different animations. When you get more advanced, you can also, you can do that as well. You can also start the slideshow by using this slideshow tab, where if you just want to check out and, get the full screen for a certain slide, you can select that slide here on your list, make sure it's highlighted, and then say from current slide. And then it starts right at that one slide, just so I can check it out in full screen. And I can go to the next page, of course, still. I can go to the previous one still. But that'll just start the presentation on the slide you like as you practice it. There's other options, too. You can record narration. You can rehearse the timing. So if you're giving a speech or giving a presentation, you want to see how long it takes. It tells you what it does here. It launches a full screen slideshow. We can rehearse your presentation, and it'll tell you how much time you're spending on each slide. So if you need only 30 minutes, you can time it, you can practice it, and this will help you do that so you're under your limit of time that you have for the presentation. So that's available as well. So, printing, saving, help, other content, adding text and all that stuff. Let's go back here. So when we added slides, we just clicked in where it told us to and started typing. If you do a custom slide or like a blank slide, like this one here, and I just did new slide, the drop down here, and selected blank, these have no text boxes or anything. So if you do a blank one, you start from scratch, you can go to Insert, and then Text Box. It says Insert Text Box in the document and add text to the shape. So I'll click this button for Text Box, and you notice my mouse is like a little, actually it looks like a sword. I can click and drag, and then let go, and it throws in a box for me. And then at this point, I can start typing. Now I have a text box to add content on the screen. And that's all under the insert. So text box, word art if you want the date and time. You can have the slide numbers to show up on the page. A lot of this stuff, you know, some of it you won't need on your slides, because it's what you put in your slides is what you're trying to show your audience. Your audience doesn't need to know the slide numbers or the date and time, things like that. They just want to see what your presentation is about. But those are some options to add if you really wanted to. You can add hyperlinks to a website, so if you're training about something, you can have a hyperlink or presenting about something that goes to the internet and pulls up a website for you. Charts are also available, pictures from your computer, or clip art, which is from Microsoft Office that's built into it. You do clip art, it pops up this little screen on the right side. You could search for clip art. You can go to the Office online and get some additional clip art. So if I try snow, sure, say yes, and then it pulls up, searches online or wherever it finds it. And then I can go over here. I can click and drag with the left button and place it on my screen. And these also has the little resizing buttons, circles and squares along the edges, so I can make that bigger, I can make that smaller, I can move it around. You know, it all depends on what you want to put in your presentation. And I just did undo and got rid of all that. And if you're done with the clip art and you want more space back again, you would click the little X to close it. And you know, just every time you need it, it'll pop up again when you click the insert and then clip art option here. Like I said, pictures are from your computer, from a file, the network, or somewhere. Charts, smart art, graphical, communicate information like lists, process diagrams, complex graphics, organizational charts. You can create that with this smart art. Now, if you ever get stuck or not sure how to do something, there's always a help system over here on the side, just like the other Office products. You can click that. It'll pull it up here in a few seconds. And you need some assistance, you can do a quick search. And right now it's trying to search online, and it didn't. I didn't type it correctly. Save a picture, save a file. So use that. You can Google it. PowerPoint. You can go home. Those aren't really fresh because I don't have any topics up right now. You can just do the table of contents, and right now it's downloading because I never really used it yet. But that'll give you another way to search. Or, you know, go to Google and Google it, how to do something. There's PowerPoint and the Office products have been around for many, many years. So if you use Yahoo or Google and search for samples or examples or how to do something in any of these applications, it's already been done, and there's already lots of support and help out there on the internet as well. Find and replace is in here as well, so if you need to replace certain words or people's names in here, you can use the find and replace just like in the Excel. Now, print preview. So if you ever do print handouts, which a lot of people don't anymore, you can do the print preview, and it kind of shows you what it's going to look like when you print. Pretty much what you see as a slide is what's going to print out normally. So each slide prints out in one full page, typically. If I go to the Office button and then go to print, this is where you can pick a different printer you have, or create it, change it to an Adobe if you have an Adobe Creator software installed, like this one is PDF Creator. And what do you want to print? You can print just one slide. You can do a selection. The default is all. Or you can print certain slides, and it shows you how you can do that. So if I want slide 1 and maybe slide 4, I would separate by the commas. But what if also, like in their example 2, I want slides 5 through 7. I can't go any higher because I don't have 8 slides or 9 slides or 10 slides. It only lets me go to slide 7 because that's what I have in my document here. But that'll let you print just a couple of slides if that's all you wanted copies of, to show someone else or for your own reference. By default, it prints your slides, but you can change this here to print handouts that are designed differently. And basically, it's kind of like thumbnails, and it shows you here on the far right side what it will kind of look like. Or you can print just your notes pages or an outline view of your presentation. And you can go to preview and see what it looks like. So here's kind of the outline. If I did want my outline, this is what will print for me. And remember that button over here, the outline tab? This is that. Now that we have several slides and text in here, you can actually edit your text right here. So what I change will change on my slide. And you can click on the different sections, and it takes you to those different slides. And if I update it on the outline, it updates it on the slide, as you can see here. So you can do that on the outline or on the actual slide. So if you see a spelling mistake or something, this is a quick way to see all your text and without going from slide to slide, and make your corrections or add additional topics. And it adds it to your list. So my list is getting bigger. So this is a quick way to do that, to add text to your slides. Go back to the slide tab here, go back to the normal view. Now I have these 2 slides I don't really need, so I can say delete the slide, and that one goes away. You also have the option to hide a slide. So if I don't want to show slide number 3, maybe I got to make my time faster, I can right-click and say hide the slide. So when I give my presentation, the audience will not see it. They'll skip that slide and go straight to 4. And I can say right-click it again and say hide, and it'll make it available again. So that's one way to do. If you have extra, if you're still editing it, but you need to give a presentation, you can hide the slides you're still working on and skip those automatically. Now, typically at the very end of your presentations, or most of the time anyways, most presenters have a slide at the very end where that has their name, phone numbers, or contact information if they're giving that out, or simply, they have a slide, a Q&A time. So at the very end, they have any questions, any thing. They have a slide for that, Q&A, questions and answers. So they spend some time with that at the very last slide. But that's a basic presentation, a basic setup. Oops, it looks like I lost audio. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so yeah, but that's a basic introduction to PowerPoint. How to create some slides, add slides, print slides. And of course, what we need to do is save the slide. Save this presentation that we worked on. Do that on the quick launch here with the save button, or I can go to the office button and do save, and then I can tell it where to save it at, give it a name. It's going to use your title slide by default, but you can change it if you wanted to. Type, there's a lot of different types. You can save these as pictures if you needed to, but I'm going to leave it like it should be, Microsoft presentation. Those are some special options if you needed them. And I'm going to hit save. And now my document name at the top is now updated to the file name. So now it says PowerPoint 2007 Level 1. And then, of course, the application name. So make sure you save it. Remember, just like the other programs, if you don't save it at least once, the auto-save features does not work. So if you add 2 or 3 slides, you might want to hit that save button before continuing. So if you program or computer crashes, you have a copy saved, so you continue to work without losing too much. So you can always hit that little button up here to continue saving it every time you make some good changes or add several slides. You might want to click that. There are email buttons there, so you have to have an email program installed, so like we out of Outlook. So if I click that, it'll open up a brand new email, so I can email that to people. But I don't need to email it right now, because you can collaborate with others on the same presentation if you wanted to, or say, hey, what does this look like? But you can quickly email that file through that button up there if you need to.